Greetings, beautiful soul. It's your soul sister in love, Jalelu Simwet Julia Bean. Welcome to My Story Medicine. It's been a long time coming, but change is gonna come. Can I get amen? So I'm sure you know who this is, but just in case, it's been a long time since we've kind of done something, right? So yeah, but it's time. So we're excited about some of the projects we're working on with the Black America Tree Project and other great things. And so this is Danyetta Najoli, and she is the co-founder or founder, how you want to, I don't know. You know, we're not really into titles, but for the sake of people understanding what this is all about, you know.
I'm Danyetta Najoli, and I co-designed the Black American Tree Project with my creative partner, Frida Apum. And so,
And so let's just get into it. So the reason why we're doing this is because, as you know, February is Black History Month. And I say it like that just because, we'll talk about that later. But, it is Black History Month. And for those who are not familiar with the culture or just want a refresher, it's a good opportunity to talk about our culture and our identity, our history, and, bring awareness to some of the things that have happened in the past and how it affects, the present as well as the future, right? And that's what Black America Tree Project is all about. It's all about a timeline, right? For us people to have an experience dealing with the truth of the matter when it comes to our culture. So I'll let Danyetta take it from there.
Well, and I'm glad you said it that way because, the Black American Tree Project is a participatory embodiment project. It's an experience that fosters things like understanding, respect, truth, racial healing, and conciliation. I won't say so much reconciliation, although that's a part of it, but conciliation about the experience of Black Americans from pre-colonial Africa to present day America.
So, I got to interrupt you right there. So it's interesting that you said reconciliation and conciliation. So can you break that down for us?
Yeah.
Break it down for us.
That's a word that I recently have come to learn more about just in my work around devaluation. But conciliation is bringing things together in such a way that it makes meaning of, what is in front of you. So when we think about reconciliation, it's, we mostly think about, okay, let's bring people together and let's have a reconciling of mindsets, reconciling of views, but when we think about how the country was established, it wasn't necessarily established with a reason to have reconciliation. It was established based on, there were people on the bill of sale. There were people listed on the bill of sale to create the country that we're in. So that I'm a big language person. So I take words and I try to break them apart and understand them from that perspective and then bring it into this space because, where we're embarking upon when we go through this Black American Tree Project together, it is definitely a learning experience and there are new things that even people who have been in this way of thinking for long periods of time, they still come away with something brand new that has maybe emerged for them. So we're excited about that. So I can talk a little bit more about the project. First of all, pre-colonial Africa to present day America is very ambitious when you think about the timeline. It's a very long timeline. So what we do is we have a narration through the project is narrated, and then we have what's called scripts or vignettes. So they're.
Can I interrupt real quick? I just realized that I didn't really give any clarity. We just kind of jumped in, and I want to make sure that you know that you can ask questions. That's what I was kind of fiddling with right now, is making sure that we have access to the questions if you do have any. So feel free to ask any questions you have. And again, the purpose of this is because this is an ongoing experience that happens, right? But a lot of people may not know about it. And we are planning on having that experience for people soon, right?
Yeah.
But before we have that experience, we wanted people to understand what the experience is, because it does evoke a lot. Invoke is the word. Invoke, right? Either words, but evoke or invoke, all of that. Emotions. It really does. And so we were looking at how to gradually introduce this experience to people, because it's hard to explain it. And if you've seen previous MYstory Medicines, I've called it other things in the past, but I've had Danyetta on many times talking about the Black American Tree Project. But again, through all our experiences, we've realized, like, sometimes people need more clarity on what it is and what the experience is. And so this is a great way, that's why it's called an overview, to see, to give you information so that you can see if you want to sign up for further information. The next step would be, we're doing Be Unique is having a unique experience next weekend. It's the Heart and Soul, not the Heart and Soul, I'm sorry, the Art and Soul weekend next weekend, the 3rd and the 4th. So the 3rd is more of the vending experience, like I was doing the second Sundays. Now I'm doing the first Saturday. But then that Sunday on the 4th, we are having a dinner and discussion. So this is the beginning of the conversation about race and our history, things of that nature. And then the next step would be you're being invited to the dinner and discussion on what we're discussing now. So if that makes sense, that's good. We'll talk more about it, but I just wanted to kind of set that foundation, because, it's been a while since I've been on live and just jumped right in because I'm so excited. But it's like, hold on, wait a minute. They might be like, what's happening here? So now if you have questions, feel free to post them and we will make sure we answer them. We'll have a link to the website as well as other information as we continue to give out everything. So yeah. I'm sorry. Just wanted to get that clear.
No, I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
It's important to set the table about what is getting ready to be offered.
Yeah.
And we've learned that the more information we can provide ahead of time, the better. We have done so many prototypes of this project, and every time we learn something new from the people that experience the project and also from ourselves as facilitators.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a 360-degree learning process that we come in together.
It is.
Yeah.
And even with that, so I think with our history, a lot of times, we're Black, but we still don't know a lot about ourselves. And that's something that you and I often have conversations about, right? As far as the human aspect of things and the whole concept of freedom and things of that nature. And that's why I'm so big on this experience, Black American Tree Project, because it does for everyone as human beings to be engaged in this type of experience, push you in the shoes. What's the word? Puts you in the shoes of a person that has experienced these things. And really, no matter what color you are, it's important that you understand that all of these experiences for us as Blacks, for many other people, everyone's fighting for freedom. And we see that happen in the world right now, right? And so it wasn't that in our history or even now, I can't speak for everyone, but I know based off of the ancestors that I'm familiar with, as well as my family who have experienced many things, as well as me being Black, I realized like the fight for freedom is not to be free to say I'm Black. It's not to acknowledge me as a Black person. It's to acknowledge me as a human being, right? But the reason why we have to have these conversations is because so many people are fixed on color, right? But even with color, we realize there's different shades, right? right?
Yeah.
And I hope I'm not getting off a topic, but I really wanted to kind of bring that to the table too. Like it's important to have these deep conversations so that we as human beings can do better and be better.
And I think it's relevant to this conversation because one of our resources for doing this project was a project in Northern Kentucky University by Dr. Joan Ferrante. And the name of that project was The Mourning of Racial Categories, the mourning of the creation of racial categories.
Mourning or mourning?
The mourning, like the sorrowful mourning.
Okay.
The sorrowful mourning of the creation of racial categories, because, you know, the reality of it is that is how, you know, this country operates, and a lot of other spaces as well. But you know, we had that as a reference point. We met with Dr. Joan Ferrante, and I went through her exhibit actually. And I don't know if it's still up at NKU, but there was a whole thing where you can go there and you can also download videos. And it just talked about how, for instance, if a fair-skinned Black mother gave birth to a darker skinned baby, that had social implications within the culture, you know, and so on. So there's so many things that she unpacks around that very complex dynamic, like you said, of race, for instance. And so the reason we named it the Black American Tree Project is because we know that that's the water we're drinking, that's the air we're breathing, in terms of identifying the label of Blackness. To identify our project, because that is the vantage point that we're bringing it from. You know, this is not indigenous people, it's not, you know, person of color that isn't Black. So we wanted to make sure people knew that, oh, this is about this particular experience. And so when people go through this process, when they go through this experience, they read scripts, they all opt in to participate. So we don't have any observers. Sometimes people might ask, oh, can I just come and observe? And we say that is not only do we have observers, but we don't even record it. I mean, you know, we don't record the actual project happening because we want safety. We want psychological safety to exist when people go through this project. And that gives us that. And
I think it is important that people have a safe space to talk about have deep conversations like this, because again, it can be triggering, you know.
Oh yeah.
And it, especially because it's the truth of what has really happened. And again, I have to emphasize, because in the day and age that we're in now, and how history is, people are changing the truth in the history, right? And many people are saying like certain things didn't happen, you know, that we as a people didn't have certain experiences. And that's not true. And I think that because it can bring out a lot of pain and make people reflect, that people don't know how to deal with that. But it's about healing at this point now. It's too much stuff going on in this world. We've ignored too many things, you know, and the only way that things will change is if we have these deep conversations, first of all, and then make movement, you know, create steps after that. And I think that's what you did with the Black American Tree Project, is like for people to be able to have a safe space to talk about things. And then, you know, it's so impactful that it's natural to, at least, if nothing else, realize like, okay, I need to shift my narrative, you know, or just trigger something to make you realize like, oh, okay, maybe I need to work on that. So it's a lot of self-reflecting.
Yeah, there's about 3 points that you brought up that made me realize one thing I wanted to share was that the reason that I even wanted to create this project, so how did this project come to be, was that I wanted to write more about the Black American experience as it relates to being devalued. The work that I do on a regular basis deals with devaluation of people. And I had gone through a 4-day training where it helped me to understand how people, a certain population of people were being devalued. And then I wondered, could that same set of ideas be applied to the Black American experience. So I first started by asking people around me, was there any research already being done around this devaluation learning and people with in Black Americans? And so we asked a few researchers locally, and we did our own research, and we didn't find anything. So that meant that there was an open space to actually do something. I also went through a faith-based reconciliation, racial reconciliation conversation through my local then church, and we had 6 weeks of dialogue with a racially diverse group that was intentionally diverse, as well as the co-facilitators were either Black or white, because that was where most of the, the not issues, but, in terms of how the country was founded, Black and white, it made sense to have them as the co-facilitators. So I had gone through that process for 6 weeks. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about, what was happening in our world, and about reconciliation and what you can do next. I also noticed that it was very person specific. Mm-hmm. So it's not like, oh, everybody's got to do this one thing, because obviously that doesn't fit everybody. So the second time I went through the conversation, the racial reconciliation conversation, I went through as a facilitator, a co-facilitator. My co-facilitator was a white female, and she actually ended up being a neighbor of mine, and we didn't know.
Oh, that's interesting.
So we kept in touch, because I'm big on community.
Yeah, definitely.
So we kept in touch through the years, and our families connected genuinely, and it was really great. And so we took people through that process, another racially diverse group through that process. And then I actually went through it a third time as a facilitator for the church itself, because the church itself that launched this was primarily Caucasian in terms of the staff. So they couldn't have a racially diverse group because that really didn't quite exist amongst their staff. But the two facilitators were African American. So it was myself and another woman, and we led that group. And so that, between that particular experience and then what I was learning through my work around devaluation, I felt compelled to do something. I wanted to write in a journal, but at the time, this particular journal had been discontinued. So then I thought, well, let's do some research and see how, someone introduced me to Frida Apum, who is a writer. Mm-hmm. And she was also interested in kind of playing around with this idea of doing this embodiment project, which we were inspired by this other project called the String Exercise, which looks at what people with disabilities, developmental intellectual disabilities in particular, are up against, what their families were up against back in the day, not too far distant past, of having to send their children to institutions and never seeing them again, believing what the doctors are saying. And they were subjected to a lot of abuse and neglect, and even worse. So we took sort of that same DNA of a project, and we said, let's see what it looks like. What would it look like if we did something for Black Americans? And we started out with the Black American String Exercise, and that wasn't quite the right fit, but we prototyped it and learned that it was about the tree. The tree was the central focus for our project, because the tree in our culture means so many things. It means fruitfulness, and it means family heritage. Yeah. And then also the other side, the ugly side, is that it's the strange fruit that Billie Holiday talked about when there were lynchings. Lots of lynching. So we wanted to really head that on. And then we also put out a content warning as well before we do the project, at the top of the project, because we understand that we are going to be talking about things. Each of those scripts deal with different aspects of Black American life, whether it's slavery or the slave trading business, or the medical industrial complex where people's bodies were used and tested, or whether it was the prison industrial system. Also education, how education can be segregated. There was a time when it was still running as a de facto segregation space, even after the law had said.
Yeah, our parents are products of that.
Yeah. So we talk about that, and then we talk about things like nonprofit as well, because that was the space that I came from when I did this project. And then we look at society as a whole. What does it mean to be Black in America while going to a coffee shop, while jogging on the street that is in a certain area? You know, so we really unpack and dissect those, but in the form of reading scripts. Everyone, like I said, will read a script, and then we have narration that leads people through each of the vignettes. And then after that, you know, people move out of those roles. So we make it real important for people to know that you're moving out of those roles, and now you're moving into, you know, where you were before you came to the project, and now with these new eyes of having experienced this project together.
Yeah.
And
now I do have a question, just thinking about what someone out there who may be listening to this and need clarity on things. What is the difference? Because when you're talking about vignettes and you're talking about roles, it sounds like a play, right? Okay. So how can a person discern between like this being a play versus, you know, because it sounds like a play. How do you explain that it's not a play and you're not acting?
Yeah, that's a great question, Julia. Is Julia, hopefully not.
Yeah.
That's a great question because when you hear the words like script and vignettes and narration, you know, one would think, oh, is this a theatrical thing? You know, so it is a participatory embodiment project. You do read a script, but you don't act out the script. It's just reading the words on the paper. And so, for instance, we have a role that says, you know, a Southern congressional leader. And someone in the past, one person thought, oh, I have to put a Southern drawl. You know, but that's not necessary. You just have to read the script as it says. And the narration also prompts each of the readers to read. So you will be prompted through it. You, in case you're wondering, like, when do I know when to read? Well, the narration prompts you through everything. So as long as you come to it, you know, you'll get the instructions as you go through it.
And it's more so, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's more of reading it as if you're that person versus you're acting like someone, but to put yourself in that person's shoes and really feel it from that perspective. So I think a good way also to explain it, you did a great job, but I'm just kind of thinking in my head too, like also when we talk about shifting narratives, I think how do you shift narratives? One way to shift a narrative is actually to walk in somebody else's shoes, right? Yeah. And this is that space where you can have that experience of being that person is seeing it from that perspective, and it's so powerful.
I'm glad you said it that way, because when I mentioned that it's an embodiment participatory experience, that's I should have probably explained what embodiment meant, but it's exactly that. You are putting yourself in the body of this person as you're reading it. So you're becoming that person, speaking in first person language, which is very different than if you were reading a novel or if you were watching a film. So those are, if we can put it in contrast. So when you're reading the script, you are becoming that person for that moment. And within the context of the project, it is designed to not have any celebratory aspects of Black American life and achievement.
Now, elaborate on that.
So this project is about the shadow side of the experiences of Black Americans. So when I say shadow side, I mean, you won't see anything in the narration about the I Have a Dream speech by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., which was powerful, right? But it's not going to be in this project. You won't see the first African-American president or the first African-American vice president listed here. So nothing that's celebratory. We intentionally wanted this project to be able to hold the strong emotions, the sadness, all of the strong emotions that go along with what happened to the Black American when the African was kidnapped from their families, and brutalized and tortured, and just all manner of things happening to them so that the country could be built, essentially. So we deliberately did not show any of the celebratory side. So with that's why we bring the content warning in right away, because at the beginning of it, because we don't want people to be surprised by the fact that this is about things that happen to the Black American, whether it's in mass incarceration. And one thing about that is Michelle Alexander, the writer of the New Jim Crow book, she talks about how if you think about a cage and you think about all of the different,
the sister's well read. She's like, in this book, this is what it says. I'm like, ooh.
It's all about remembering and how it applies to the project. It really does apply to the project because the cage in and of itself, one little bar is not going to hold the bird in, but all the bars back to back, reinforces it. And the other thing is that one bar, say if it's the hospital system may not know all of the ins and outs of what's happening in the education system, but yet they may call some of the same things. They may call them different things. So there's no shared language, making it really hard to navigate through a system if there's no shared language through the larger system. So
now with these references that you are giving out, because you've mentioned a couple books, I think, and that display you had mentioned, will you be able to put links to that so people can look that up? Okay. Because I think these are good reference points to help them to kind of stay engaged. Because the thing is, let's keep these conversations going. And one way to do that is, as she's kicking out all this knowledge, I'm like, take notes. At least watch this over again, and we'll post all this information so that you can get more understanding of all of this. And,
Well, what I was going to say about bringing that up is that with the project, when I was talking about Michelle Alexander's notion of the cage and how they all together, all these systems working together locks people in, that's how we mirrored the project. Because, quite frankly, the narration, I should say the scripts, the different vignettes are broken out just for the educational process. But that's not to say that a family could not have experienced enslavement in their history, which most African Americans have, then also, the medical industrial complex having an issue there, not being believed about their pain, or the incarceration situation. So, people have experienced layered things, but for the purposes of the project, we do break it out so that people can either be educated, affirmed, and things of that nature. And then the other thing is that All In Cincinnati is one of our sponsors. We have a few sponsors. So one of which is All In Cincinnati, as well as the collective, the Lower Price Hill Artist Collective, which we're a part of. Invest in Neighborhoods is our sponsor. And then we had a couple of grants given to us by Ohio Humanities. But All In Cincinnati has named us the Truth Pillar in their Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation model.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a model that's been put out by the Kellogg Foundation. And so if you go to their website, All In Cincinnati Coalition, you'll see under their Truth Pillar that the Black American Tree Project is listed. Because this project, like you mentioned earlier, is about shining the light on truth, about what actually happened to people. And then it brings people together that come through the project and to experience it together. And then after the project, we get a reaction from you, an initial reaction. And then we also take you through courageous community conversations, which I'm starting to call Harambe circles because I like that. But it's a way for us to get together and now talk about what we experienced, and talk about it together in that psychologically safe space of having experienced something together just then. And so we have that conversation together, and then people get a chance to be heard. They get a chance to speak about their own situations and maybe people that they know, as well as about the project that they just experienced.
That's a lot of great information. It really is. And I think that I hope this was helpful in giving you a better understanding of what the Black America Tree Project is. If they have questions or if they want to do more research on the project, how do they find out?
So definitely you can go to the blackamericantreeproject.org to get information about the project.
You have an awesome site too. Site. Yeah.
That was because Ohio Humanities and other donors were really, integral.
It looks good.
Yeah, we did it. It's funny because we ended up doing the project through our own nonprofits as a professional development project in 2019, before 2020 was even, it was the fall of 2019. And so it just worked out where we were able to get someone to invest in our site.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So you can go to the website and learn about the project. You can learn about, there's a section that says orientation materials.
Hey, Adrian, she posted the link already. You go, sister!
Oh, thank you. Yeah, great. Thank you very much. Yep. So it's a long name too, because it's theblackAmericanTreeProject.org. So thank you. And yeah, so it's just something that you can do. You can go to our website to learn about us, and the orientation materials are there too. If you go to the top, you'll see that, and there'll be videos. There's also a video on the screen on the cover page of the website that gives you an idea of what the project is about. We didn't talk about the different roles that people would assume in the project, but we did talk about the different areas. So within each area, there are always 3 roles: the Black American focus person, the Black American family member of the focus person, and the institutional force that subjugates and justifies the subjugation. So that's why it ends up being very powerful when each 3.
It's definitely powerful, you all. And again, let's keep these conversations going. Just to remind you, MYstory Medicine is brought to you by Be Unique Holistic Care, and it's all about the movement forward for Be Unique Holistic Care. My journey is to encourage people to be better. And this is one way, by having these deep conversations. Let's step out of, these shallow conversations. There's too many things that's going on, things that are both serious that need to be talked about, as well as things that need to be more acknowledged and recognized, right? And so this is what we're doing. So come out to the unique experience that Be Unique Holistic Care is having next weekend. It's the Art and Soul weekend fair. My mind is like, I don't want to, wrap things up so soon, but it is time to kind of wrap things up. I wanted to get it straight to the point, and it's time for me to pray. So I don't play. When we're talking about faith, it's like, it's let what I'm saying? So yeah, but we are definitely going to continue this conversation. You can come out to 734 State Avenue to outer space. You got to say it with me. That's how we say outer space. That's how you say
it now?
Okay. Yeah, that's my trademark way of saying it. That's the only way you're allowed in. That's the password to get into any of the unique experiences, okay? So it's like outer space. Okay. So that's how we say it, but it's 734 State Avenue, outer space, right next to the great community.
Sorry.
That's okay. The great community grocery store, Misers, but it'll be, so Saturday from 11 to 3 is the shopping affair, and we are having an artist feature who is Cashel Cunningham. Yay, Cashel! And we will be having a live conversation with her this coming week. I don't have a day right yet, but I will know it by this weekend, and I'll post that to invite you to that live conversation so you can meet Cashel as well as her husband, Anthony. Amazing couple doing amazing things. She's part of the Artist Collective, one of the original founding members, right?
Yes, the founding member.
Yeah, so we're going to hear her story. We didn't really get a chance to go deep into Danielle's story as far as, just what led to this journey of the Black American Tree Project, but we'll have more. This will not be the last. And as you know, like I said, we've had conversations in the past, and she's a familiar face to most of the beautiful souls out there, but if not, she's still a beautiful face that you're just now being introduced to, and you will find out more about all the great things she is doing. So come on out to 734 State Avenue. That'll be the Art and Soul Weekend Affair, Saturday from 11 to 3. We have vendors and Adrian, you just on it. Adrian is on it. You're hired, sis.
I know. It's official. It's official.
No, so the Artist Soul Weekend Affair will be from 11 to 3 vendors on Saturday. And then Sunday is the dinner and discussion. So MYstory Medicine, we're going to take it as a community event and have these dinners and discussions. And the discussion will be based off of what we're talking about with the Black American Tree Project as far as our culture and our history, because it is important to know our culture and our history, and for others to recognize the things that have happened to us based off of who we are, right? Us, so, and a lot of times it's really just based off of the color of our skin, right?
That's such a phenotype. It's such a DNA genetic phenotype that
it doesn't make sense. And I know I said I gotta go, which you know me, I started another conversation, but we're not. But I do want to say that I was thinking about that because I remember my kids even asking me, like, when they started having those questions of what color am I? Like when they started recognizing that they are in a category, and they're like, well, I'm not black. This is black. I'm not black or white. So that it's very confusing,
Yep.
And even as adults, it's hard to explain that. Technically you're not black, but, but, all these buts. So, we're going to continue these deep conversations. So on Sunday from 4 to 7, there'll be a dinner and discussion. The dinner and discussion, all we ask is for a love offering for the food so that we can continue to do these great things. A portion of it goes to the Black American Tree Project, as well as all of the soulful impact projects and programs that Be Unique Holistic Care is working on. So is there anything that you would like, in conclusion, the moral of the story is?
The conclusion is it's a learning journey, and we know that it's a very highly personal journey that people are taking when they go through this project. And so we won't have 5 easy steps for you to take after you go through the project, because we feel like you personally will need to have the project, you can have the project experienced by yourself. And then from that, you might decide, I'm going to talk to a neighbor that looks different from me. I'm going to volunteer here, or I'm going to do something different. So we can't really be in charge of that. What we do is we provide you with the experience in hopes that you'll take it where it needs to go in your life so that our community can be better.
All right. Because what I believe is better people equal better communities equal a better world. So if you have a desire to live in a better world, what I say is, in order to live in a better world, we must become better human beings. And that's what Be Unique Holistic Care is all about, becoming better. And the way to get there, everybody may be a little different, but I believe that the path is unique, but the soulful journey is very common. Like, we're all trying to get to a certain point, right? We all strive to be better. And I do see that you, Adrian, so the question was, do I have any flyers? I don't right now, but you already creating it. I see something you yeah, you're already making it happen for me. So I will definitely, I thank you so much, sis. But yeah, so I'll be posting. I'm working on the flyer right now. I know it's a little late because it is next weekend, but that's why we're doing these live conversations as well. Just to have people understand what's going on. All are invited. So, let's come having a unique experience and enjoy and have these deep conversations. On that note, I am about to do my prayer, and I'm so grateful to Danyetta for coming on and just being able to share. I know we kind of cut it short. A lot of times, we try to do like an hour, but I'm amazed that I actually was able to do 30 minutes. Like, what? It's possible. It is possible.
Thank you for having me.
And let's see, Adrian's be able to. All right, hopefully, Adrian, you'll be able to attend, but I know if nothing else, you'll be there. Your heart and soul is already in the midst. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So basically, just to sum it all up, This is Black American Tree Project with Danyetta Najoli. And we are inviting you to the next step if you want to take this journey with us, right? Because not really, I don't like to say steps, right? Mm-hmm. So if you want to go on this journey with us to be better, come on out to the Art and Soul Celebration Weekend Affair and enjoy yourself on Saturday. Support local vendors, meet the beautiful and amazing Cashel and see all of her artwork because we're having her artwork exhibit there. And then Sunday, again at 4:00 from 4 to 7, we're going to dive in deep and speak about things. We're going to be talking about deep topics. And so if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to me. You know how to reach me. You can message me on Facebook. You can call me. You can email me and all of that great stuff. But on that note, I thank you again. This is your soul sister. I love Jalelu Sinwet, Julia Bean, asking the Creator to send us all an abundance of peace, love, and holistic healing, and reminding you to always, always, always be you, be true, be unique.